Welcome to this Chinkies transmission. Today I share the Chinky 36 and it has been a long time since I have been sharing videos here on this YouTube channel, over a year since my last video, which is way too long for the videos. And so it couldn't be a better Chinkies than the 36 for me to contemplate again on YouTube for you, for me, for everyone that watches this video. And so, since this 36 of the highest essence of compassion is very close to me, it's in my profile as a perfect match to contemplate that. And just yesterday, I bought me like this mini bowl, and so I decided, because this is a very special like kind of transmission for me, and I will also very little read from the book. Most is kind of like from my experiences and a little bit structuring from the Chinkies from Richard. And so we start with like this little start, and then the transmission begins. I'm not sure if I do this all the time because I'm not too much into the things, but somehow it resonated for this transmission. So let's have a look how this works. I think there was a little bit too little. Let's do it again. Let's do it more. I think it's not like that it's so small and it's not working. I think I was just hitting it too gently. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Perfect. So let's start this transmission. Chinky 36. The programming partner of this Chinky is Chinky 6, and both of them are in human design, in Chinkies, in my profiles, and they are my most deep kind of contemplations, and also I see my life most mirrored in them, especially the 36. And so that's why I choose to make this transmission a little bit more personal. I hope it works out very good. And so, However, I also want to make it easy, like the other transmissions, to go into the details so you can just study this hexagram of the 36 very easily. So I have some kind of details from the book and also different points. So this Chinky is in the shadow turbulences. Often it is also described as crisis, especially in the I Ching. And so it is all about human beings that are in crisis, that have emotional turbulences, especially, that do not know where they belong to, that have maybe even challenges with like sexual lust or desires that they cannot control, that are uncontrollable. So it also has a lot to do with the sexuality side of us human beings. And it's also a process where I went through a lot, and I'm still in the process of going through. And it is something in our society not so much of a taboo topic anymore, like sexuality. We kind of, everything is kind of expressed more openly. However, if we overdo anything, like it doesn't matter if we drink water too much, we would die, or we would feel bad at least. And so it's the same with sex. If we overdo that part, we just deplete our creative energy, and we are not able to do something. And that is a big challenge for a lot of human beings, because this shadow comes also from the animals. I mean, we are, from the DNA perspective, programmed that we reproduce. So we naturally like are attracted to women and to also have sex with them and to give birth to childs. And that is a big challenge if it is a too focused point in life, or it created too many struggles in life. And for me, it created definitely troubles. For example, I didn't have a girlfriend until I was 24. Like that is like really like that. I didn't have a single girlfriend before that, not a single one. And the first one that I had was then is now my wife, and we have a beautiful child together, which is 5 6 months. So it created extreme turbulences in my puberty. In the time even before, I was never taught or educated in school or somewhere else about this topic. It is something very deep down. It was a taboo topic for a long time in my life. I don't even know why I share this now, but yeah, I didn't think that I share this now, okay? So I just wrote from the book that it's related to sexual lust, and now I share all of this stuff. But I think it might resonate to you in whatever means it resonates. It's just one example of turbulences, of a crisis. It can be in a lot of different ways. The most important is that it is a emotional crisis. So it's like a deeply emotional crisis that comes from the ancestors, from the past that we kind of still hold on to, and here it's the one that we now more and more let go, because we more move into the solar plexus region, and this chinky is kind of located, or not maybe located also in the solar plexus. At least that's in the Chinky's book written. And so it's more about opening this emotional the burdens we have, to heal our emotions, to not conflict with them anymore, because like the programming partner, the sixth chinky, which is this conflict or the shadow of conflict, it's always in conflict, right? Like, for example, if I do something in this way of sexual lust that I feel like I deplete my energy, or something is like not nice, then I afterwards conflict myself and say, why did you do it like that? Why did you do that? Like, why? Like, all the conflicting all the time. And so this is a like a very negative loop that is not stopping if we don't look at our deepest shadows with an honesty, and to live this authentic life for us, and also for others, for the whole humanity, because that's where we're headed. And so there's a very deep shadow. And then we have here, you can also see it like a ping pong, like when you play tennis or ping pong. You always like the emotions from one to another player. They're always like just like played, like you play the ball to your friend you play with, and then the ball comes back, and it's always like ping pong, and your emotions, like in this crisis, they're always like this turbulence is always going on and forward, and like it's never stopping. It feels like it's never stopping. And so that's why this chinky in the shadow is also called the dark night of the soul. And so a lot of us experience this today in a lot of ways in our life. You don't need to have this chinky in your profile. I bet you have turbulences and crises in your life. It doesn't need to be the one I explained with sexuality. It can be with relationships, it can be with money, it can be with parents, it can be with culture, it can be with family, friends, like everything. It can be with so different challenges, or your health. You have always troubles with health, and it's never like stopping, or like it's always ongoing, and you're always in conflict with your turbulent energies, like your emotional energies. And the challenge we have that from a mental perspective, that our mind begins to more and more and more entangle with like the emotions and with the physical body. And here we have, as in all of the shadows, we have two natures. One is the repressive nature and one the reactive. And here in the repressive nature is nervousness. So we repress, like we suppress everything inside, all the emotions. We completely shut down to them. We close up, we close down to them. And what happens then? In the worst case, we have a nervous breakdown, because like everything gets in our nervous system. And that's why it's like nervousness. We all of the emotions get in the system, and those people are, you can feel that they are nervous. However, it's not like that they express that nervousness out. You can just sense it. They always suppress like this deep core shadows they are not willing to look into. And as long as they are not willing to look into them, the more of the shadows come in. And whenever they emerge in the outside world, doesn't matter like what it is. It can be a conflict now in a relationship. It can be that suddenly like all the time you do not have money, or every month like you are on such a minimum that all the time you conflict yourself why I'm in this financial situation. And then you feel, shit. And it's always like this nervousness is dropping deeply in your physical body. So this repressive nature is deeply physical into your system. And then we have the reactive nature, which is here crisis prone. And those people are more expressive. They always express out there. So like to get it into a different way. So the repressive, for example, because they repress the things, at some point they have a outburst of rage, and that makes the outside situations really, really bad, really bad. And then there's like in the reactive nature, it's like they always, all the time, because of crisis prone, they always act something, and this acting always creates conflicts constantly. Like it's like from one conflict to another. Like is like kind of conflict, and crisis is your mantra of life, where you feel like, okay, I just went from one relationship to the next because I thought, maybe it's good to leave the one relationship and go to another relationship. And then in the next relationship, you have exactly the same problems, and they're even worse, and you have no idea what's going on. And it's on a micro scale. It's the daily mini micro decisions, actions, behaviors, conditions we have towards us and also towards others. And those create the relationships we have. Either they are like very harmoniously and great and gentle and patient and inspiring, or on the other side, we created this field where we feel we need to control people in our relationship. We need to make them fearful of something. And so, or we want to entangle them into some crisis. So this is the other aspect. And depending on how we act, we are in this different conscious field. And what happens when we get out of this fear, of this deep, narrow-minded, it's really like this crisis, like you just do like this. You don't see anything. It's just closed. And that is what you believe your reality is, or what the world looks like. And we can see this now with all the crises we have in the world. They partly are there because some people rage like too much repression in humanity, and collectively it's raged out, like the wars, the crisis we have, and others are like a constant conflicting with people, for example. That's why also there is not yet any diplomatic solutions for wars, or if there are solutions, it takes a long time, because like this reactive nature does not allow to have any diplomacy, and diplomacy is the gift of the sixth gene key. And in the 36 gene key, it's a humanity. So here people come, what is diplomacy? People come really together and allow themselves and accept that they did fuck up and they did shit. They sit there and say, yes, I allow myself, I was emotional, I was always turbulent, conflicting, and now I realize that this is not bringing me anywhere. And you can relate this to your relationship with yourself also, to your relationship with family, with friends, with your partner, with your child. Everywhere like that is the same. And what I noticed in the last 1.5 years with my relationship, that all the time when I was human enough in this humanity to accept and allow and embrace also my fears and say like, look, I did it was not nice, and like if tears comes down, but at the same time it's like a graciousness, a grace feeling of tears. It's not like the tears that we want to push away, because that's the shadow where we feel it's a weakness. In the gift, tears also for men, so if you're watching as a man, tears are strengths, because they release emotional conditions, and they release like this kind of all the suppressions we have inside this nervousness. They release that. So it's very positive, it's very optimistic and loving and gentle to have tears. And that's one of the big taboos we still have as a man, we need to be cold, we need to be hard, we need to be the fighter, we cannot have tears. Very big challenge in society. And as soon as I realized I can let go and tears can flow, and they are even beautiful and graceful, and I see them from a completely different perspective, everything changed. Everything changed when you see that from this different perspective, and you can also feel the release. Everything is just okay. And for sure, even for me, it's hard to just, for example, before the camera now, or also before strangers, it's hard to just tear down on something. It's also depending on the communication, the connection. For example, in Chinkies, we have like a lot of community calls. And recently I had also one where like tears flow down because a person in a community call shared something just very touching, and it touched my heart. And that is what, for example, the Chinkies is doing. So if you are new or longer to the Chinkies, check out the community calls that happen 1 or 2 times a month, and they are just free to access. You can just join via Zoom. I can link also where you can find I will link it down where you can find the folder of the Chinkies, where there's there's German, English, a lot of different languages, so you can see which language makes sense for you. So now that we already moved kind of into the gift, so here it's about the spirit descending, meaning something is being received into your body, into your physicality, in your emotional system also, and the mental system, from like some higher kind of graceful like realizations happen to you. And that's why it's not like we escape this reality. We actually descend deeper down into the emotional realms, and this is where we get the release, and that's why we need to allow that to happen for us. So actually I told also everything about the gift already, I feel. The most important here is to discover that creative gift, that talent you have, which brings you in this open-hearted state, that suddenly you're deeply emotional to tear down, to I mean, you don't have to have tears when you are emotional or when you have some realization. It doesn't have to be always like that. For example, it can also be just blissful and really beautiful. It doesn't have to be like from a tear perspective. However, from this humanity and human beings perspective, a lot of times it is tears. And so that's very important to find the outlet. For example, for me, I do not have something specific. It just happens to me. Like, for example, like yesterday I did, there is an organization, Peace Tree, where I received a mandala, where there's also from the Bodhi tree, like this, I can show you actually, like it's like this mandala. And there's a beautiful German family that is doing or creating those, and they created those because they went on a trip. I believe it was about 7-8 years ago. I'm not 100% sure. And they went into different locations and planted trees for peace. And like the person that did that is a shaman also, and he always did like a ceremony, and I did one of the ceremonies in Cyprus, and so it's really beautiful, like planting the tree, making some kind of small ceremony, bringing the spirits in. And so like the mandala, or is it actually called mandala? I'm confused now. I think it's called mandala, right? Please write a comment if it's not called mandala. I mean, mandala is what's kind of like this geometry we can also paint on. But yeah, I'm a bit confused about. Sometimes, like my mind, like doesn't care even about this wording stuff so much. It doesn't matter at all actually. But at least you saw now what I mean. And so this manda is connected to all of the trees. And so I received that, and so I had it like my morning routine, and I put it around, and I didn't connect with it for over 2 years. I think I didn't even have it on. I didn't do so many routines, or like sometimes I forget a lot of what I want to do, and then I'm just not doing it. And then I connected with it, and just like I was connected with it, and just like tears were like just it was really emotional. I really was touched by it, and it's also such a beautiful mission, right? Because you also need to see like this family is just traveling. They had no financial means, nothing. They have two beautiful childs, and it just happened what happened, and they always could serve humanity in some creative, shamanistic, different way that the world normally is not so adept to anymore, at least the West. And so that it was really beautiful to experience. So sometimes these tears happen very sporadically, spontaneously, in ways that we do not expect them to happen. And so now we go to the Siddhi, which is compassion. And this is a very Christ-like city. So very it's a very approachable city to human beings because it's very grounded. It has like, if you imagine like Jesus on the cross, and it like this symbolic of him on the cross is a very human expression of a god, if you want to call it god. I mean, back then, like, there's a lot of books. He also called himself God Man, and he's like kind of the descending god, and so like a lot of different ways he described himself. And so it's a very different symbolic of a god that we have in religion today than in any other religion we have. Because in Buddhism, Buddha, like I also have Buddha here, he's always, you can see, he's always chill. So he's always look happy and exciting. Not so many people are willing to put like a statue or something from Jesus on the cross at home. Like, not so many people are willing to do that. However, it's a very approachable avatar because it's so human. He died on the cross. He suffered on the cross. So this is also a lot about this grace, or suffering is grace. And since compassion and also the 22nd Chinki, they are both in the codon ring of divinity. They are also they have this story together. So grace and compassion have like a close story entangled, which you need to discover for yourself. And so compassion is a very special, very high frequency city. And there was like the story of also Buddha is related to compassion all the time. And there's also the story, Richard brought it in his personal contemplations, where there were 3 different disciples visiting Buddha, and they all asked him the same question. I don't remember now what the question is. The question was something like, exactly. The question was, they asked him, Buddha, is there a God? And so what is cool from the compassionate perspective of the story is, Buddha told to the first person that asked him, yes, there is a God. To the second person, he told, no, there is no God. And to the third person, he was just silent and looked the person that asked the question into the eyes. And that person was super happy and relieved and just went away. And afterwards, the disciples of Buddha asked him, like, why did you tell like the same questions? Why did you answer it so differently to those people? And like the Buddha told the disciples that, yeah, it's because one person believed that there is a God, so I needed to tell him there is no God, so he can be liberated from disbelief. Then another person did not believe in the God, and because he could see it within me, I told him, no, there's no God, because that's what liberated him. And the third person was very close to the truth, and so I just gave him the transmission. And that is a beautiful story about the depths of something like a city, and in this case here, compassion. And so, this very, it's also, it's just beautiful. It's like from one perspective. So it's like it's hesitant. It's like not like Buddha has always also been hesitant. He didn't put himself in any entanglement of a condition or a belief system. He was always hesitant and knew that everything could be in some way reality, and that's why he could connect to others so vividly and so simple and with clarity, and then he could tell them just what they needed to hear. And so for the outsider or for the scientific mind we have here, where everything like 1 plus 1 needs always be 2 or 3 plus 7 needs to be 10, for the Siddhis, math or mathematics like that, they do not apply. It's not like that scientific in that way. It's not repeatable. It's always changing, like life is always changing, like nature is always changing, the universe is always changing. And so the cities are in some way also always on the move and changing and different. And to human beings that are deeply into the shadow, in, let's say, in control behavior, and it's very dangerous concept, and also embodiment of those liberating cities where people just, they only live to liberate others. And that is very beautiful for this Chinky. Yes, thanks a lot. I have no idea how long I talked now. I hope this supported you in some way, this new transmission from me. And so you can, in the description below, check some links. I have a lot of blog articles on my blog Beyonduality, now over 50. And I'm adding also a lot of Chinky's article. I will put below definitely the link of the Chinky 36 article, because I even did 2 articles of that on my blog. So you can see, or you can read how I feel about this hexagram from a different perspective also. And so, yeah, see you in the next transmissions. Also in the comments, like, let me know how this transmission felt for you, what your revelations, experiences are for this Cheeky. And so, see you soon. You're Dominic. And like how we started it, we will end it. If you left already, that's not my problem, because I just distracted you that this is over already, but it's not. So if you are still here, you are lucky. If not, you are unlucky. So we will stop with this, and a very short pause to just relax, and then you can go into the next phase of your day, whatever it might be. Thank you very much. Then, yeah, see you in other transmissions. You're Dominic. Bye bye.